In the year 999, as the world trembled at the edge of the first millennium, a man sat upon the throne of St. Peter, who was whispered to be more demon than priest. They called him the Sorcerer-Pope, a man who allegedly spoke to a severed bronze head, commanded spirits, and practiced the forbidden arts of the stars.
This was Gerbert of Aurillac, known to history as Pope Sylvester II, the first Frenchman to lead the Catholic Church and arguably the most brilliant mind of the Middle Ages. But how did a peasant boy from the rugged mountains of south-central France rise to become the Vicar of Christ? And why did the world decide his genius could only be explained by a pact with the devil?
To understand the legend, we must first look at the boy. Gerbert was born around 946 in the region of Auvergne. He was a commoner, a child of no standing in a world where your bloodline was your destiny. Yet he possessed an intellect that acted like a magnet, pulling him out of the dirt and into the local monastery of Saint Gerbert of Aurillac. Even as a young monk, Gerbert was different. While others were content with simple prayer and the copying of scripture, Gerbert was hungry for the mechanics of the universe. He looked at the sky and didn't just see the hand of God, he saw a map that needed to be read. His life changed forever when a Spanish nobleman named Borrell II, the Count of Barcelona, visited the monastery. Borrell was impressed by the young monk's sharp mind and took him back to Catalonia. This was the turning point that would define Gerbert's life and birth his dark reputation. In the 10th century, the border between Christian Europe and the Islamic Caliphate of Cordoba was porous. While the rest of Europe was largely illiterate and struggling through the so-called Dark Ages, the Islamic world was in the midst of a golden age of science, mathematics, and philosophy. Gerbert was sent to study in the borderlands. He was exposed to the works of ancient Greeks that had been lost to the West, but preserved and expanded upon by Arab scholars. He studied the quadrivium, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy. He learned about the astrolabe, a complex instrument used for navigation and calculating the positions of celestial bodies. He was introduced to the concept of Hindu-Arabic numerals, including the revolutionary idea of zero. To a 10th century European, these tools weren't just science, they looked like magic. The sight of Gerbert staring through a sighting tube at the stars, or manipulating a complex abacus, led to the first whispers that he was communicating with unseen forces. When Gerbert returned to France, he was no longer just a monk, he was a polymath. He arrived at the Cathedral School of Reims and transformed it into the intellectual center of the Western world. He taught his students how to use the abacus, which allowed for calculations that had been nearly impossible with clumsy Roman numerals. He constructed hydraulic organs that used steam to power pipes, creating music that seemed to have a life of its own.
He built celestial globes that mapped the constellations. For the first time in centuries, the light of classical knowledge was being relit in the heart of Europe, but many people feared what that light might reveal.
Gerbert's rise to prominence wasn't just academic, it was deeply political. He became a kingmaker. He was a close advisor to the powerful Ottonian dynasty, serving as the tutor and mentor to the young Holy Roman Emperor Otto III. Gerbert envisioned a world where the Roman Empire was restored, led by a philosopher emperor and a wise, scholarly pope. This wasn't just a dream of power, it was a dream of a unified, enlightened Christendom. However, the path to the papacy was paved with conflict. Gerbert found himself embroiled in the messy politics of the French throne. He played a key role in the rise of Hugh Capet, the founder of the Capetian dynasty. But his involvement in the deposition of the Archbishop of Reims led to his excommunication by a local synod. He was a man caught between the gears of shifting empires. He fled to the court of his pupil Otto III in Italy. It was under the protection of the emperor that Gerbert's fortunes shifted again. He was appointed the Archbishop of Ravenna, and finally, in 999, he was elected Pope. He chose the name Sylvester II. This was a calculated and symbolic choice. Sylvester I had been the Pope during the reign of Constantine the Great, By choosing this name, Gerbert was signaling that he and Otto III were the new Sylvester and the new Constantine, destined to lead a new era of Roman greatness.
As Pope, Sylvester II was a reformer. He fought against simony, the selling of church offices, and clerical marriage. He sought to centralize the power of the papacy and expand the influence of the church into the newly forming kingdoms of Poland and Hungary.
It was Sylvester who sent the crown to Stephen I of Hungary, effectively bringing the Magyars into the fold of Western Christianity. He was a global thinker at a time when most people never traveled more than 10 miles from their birthplace. But while he ruled from Rome, the shadows of his past were lengthening. The year 1000 was approaching, a date many believed would bring the apocalypse. As the clock ticked toward the millennium, the populace was gripped by a frantic, superstitious terror. In this climate of fear, the Pope's scientific instruments and his deep knowledge of Saracen learning were viewed with growing suspicion. People couldn't understand how a man of humble birth could rise so high without supernatural help. The legends began to take root. It was said that while in Spain, Gerbert had stolen a book of spells from a powerful Muslim sorcerer. According to the tale, the sorcerer chased Gerbert, but Gerbert hid under a bridge, suspended between the air and the water, so the sorcerer's astrological tracking couldn't find him.
Another legend claimed he had a relationship with a succubus named Meridiana, who provided him with wealth and secret knowledge in exchange for his soul.
The most famous legend, however, concerned the brazen head. It was whispered that Sylvester had fashioned a head of bronze using complex planetary alignments. This head could supposedly answer any question with a simple yes or no. When Sylvester asked if he would ever die before he had said Mass in Jerusalem, the head allegedly replied no. Believing he was safe and perhaps immortal, Sylvester avoided the Holy Land. But the devil is a master of wordplay. In 1003, while presiding over a Mass at a church in Rome called Holy Cross in Jerusalem, Sylvester fell suddenly ill. He realized too late that the prophecy had been fulfilled. As he lay dying, the legends say he confessed his sins and ordered his body to be cut into pieces so that the devil could not claim his soul. He was buried in the Basilica of St. John Lateran. Even his tomb became a source of mystery. For centuries, it was claimed that his bones would rattle and the marble of his tomb would sweat or weep when a pope was about to die. When his tomb was opened in 1648, his body was reportedly found intact for a fleeting moment before it crumbled into dust the second the air touched it.
The historical reality of Sylvester II is far more impressive than the myths. He was a man who attempted to bridge the gap between faith and reason centuries before the Renaissance. He introduced decimal notation to Europe, a tool that would eventually make modern science and commerce possible.
He was a diplomat who saw the map of Europe as a single entity. He was a visionary who believed that the pursuit of knowledge was a way to get closer to the mind of the Creator, not a way to distance oneself from him. Gerbert of Aurillac was a man born out of time. To his contemporaries, his ability to predict an eclipse or calculate complex fractions was indistinguishable from sorcery. They turned his brilliance into a cautionary tale because they didn't have the vocabulary to describe a scientist. Today, we recognize him not as a warlock, but as one of the greatest scholars of the medieval age, a man who kept the flame of logic burning in a world of shadows. He was the Pope of the Millennium, a figure who stood at the crossroads of the old world and the new. His legacy is etched in the very numbers we use every day, and in the structure of the modern university system he helped inspire. The Sorcerer-Pope remains one of the most enigmatic figures to ever wear the fisherman's ring. Whether he was a man who sold his soul or a man who simply used his brain, his story is a testament to the dangerous price of being the smartest person in the room. If you want to uncover more secrets of history's most mysterious figures, subscribe now.